Hi, Eve. How are you today?
I'm very good. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Ask a Bitcoiner 21 Questions. Before we get started, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
So I'm Yves Bennaim. I am on Twitter as ZLOK, ZLOK. And I am in Switzerland. I am a Bitcoin educator, Bitcoin explainer. I think that's what it is. I help people, companies, students, media understand Bitcoin a little bit better so that they say less bad things about it
Less FUD.
by being ignorant. They can say bad things, but not by mistake.
Yes, informed critiques is
Exactly.
are what's necessary. So I thought of you because you were kind enough to come to our Geneva Bitcoin meetup to talk about the initiative.
And you
And
were kind
so,
enough to welcome me, so that was
oh, of
fantastic.
course. Of course, this is like, anyways, not about me. I'm not going to go off on a
Okay.
tangent, but thank you for coming on the podcast again. So, just a brief overview. The whole ideal is to ask a Bitcoiner 21 questions in 10 minutes. I realize that it's not necessarily possible, but it's something to aspire to.
I think we're gonna do it. I think we're gonna do it this time. It's gonna be fantastic. You'll
Oh,
see.
oh, okay, okay,
I'll be
okay.
super
Well,
short. I'll be unnecessarily short.
this will be a record. I've done a few of these now, and time goes by quickly. So before I start the timer, do you have any questions?
No, I think we're good. I think we should go.
Let's go. So timer here,
Yep.
10 minutes.
And
Let me
I
get
and
the
I don't have
question
the
ready.
questions, by the way. Now that I'm like on a mobile device, I was hoping to have the questions, in one window and the video in the other window, but I don't have them. So you'll have to ask them to me, and I will pretend that I'm surprised every time.
Oh, okay. Well, there is one surprise question because I
Ah,
sent
very
you
good.
questions beforehand, but I swapped out one so that you're not overly prepared. Okay.
Fantastic.
Oh, and start. Let's go. When were you orange pilled?
2011 is when it started. There was this article from Gawker about the Silk Road, and I found it on a website that has lots of really cool links called Waxy. And I saw that, and it was just like my head exploded, and I thought, this is incredible. They found a way to finalize the circle. Like, you could send things, you could sell things, you could exchange things. Everything could be done online except for actual payment, because payment would always go back to credit card.
Mhm.
And then I saw that, and at the same time I thought, this is incredible, because it either goes or it breaks, because it was like fully illegal. The article was about the fact that American US politicians wanted to destroy the website and arrest everybody, because of course they were selling illegal stuff on it. And I thought, this is incredible, because this is the final test. Either they destroy it, and therefore it will never work. It could not work, or they won't destroy it. And that's it. It's there forever. And what was interesting is that they did destroy Silk Road, the website, but they didn't attack Bitcoin at the time. And
Yep,
the rest is history.
exactly. Next question. What is something we'd be surprised to know about you?
That I'm a nice person. That I'm
This is
actually a
true.
nice. Yeah, I'm actually a nice person. That I used to import things from Japan, including fresh wasabi.
Mm.
That I orange peeled, but it wasn't orange. A lot of people with sake, as in Japanese wine. And that's it, I think. Everything else, I'm an open book. It's very easy. You ask me a question, I just answer it.
Yep, totally cool. Next question. HODL, trade, or spend?
All of them, and more. And more. You should first one is missing, is earn. You should earn in Bitcoin. You shouldn't have to buy. Why? You don't buy your own currency, you earn it. You do something that is, that you can do better than other people, you get paid for it, and after that you have that money, right? The whole Aristotle, what is money, right? And then that money you use it to do stuff. So you should barter, you should earn, you should exchange, you should, and all of them, you should do more than one at the same time. Like, you should spend and replace, you should hodl and spend. Like, it's a whole thing. it Okay, there is no universal truth. Some people will have to hodl because this is where they are at that time in their life, and some other people will have to spend it because this is where they are. And this is what creates a circular economy. This is what creates an ecosystem. If everybody is doing exactly the same thing, then it doesn't work in everything, not only Bitcoin.
Mhm.
So your question is great because it gives me the opportunity to say, the moment that you choose one over the others, or that you, for yourself, it's fine, but for the rest of the Bitcoin world, or the world in general, not even Bitcoin, then you're missing the big picture.
Yep. I have a comment, but I will refrain because I'm sucking into your 10 minutes. But
We have 10
excellent
minutes.
answer. Excellent. What is your favorite hardware wallet?
I have two. I like the Beatbox O2 because it's super sleek and it looks so cool, and it's Swiss and it is open source, but at the same time it has like the secure element and all that, whatever. And the other one is the Seed Signer. I love the Seed Signer. I think it's fantastic. I love using it. I loved building it. I like what's behind it. I like the people working on it. I think it's just great. It's yeah, it's in my heart. It's a fun thing, and at the same time, it's like super powerful.
Yep. Okay, pick one: engineer, speculator, or idealist.
For what? For myself, you mean?
Generally,
Or
it's pick one. The question is inspired by Zuko with his Venn diagram about
okay.
where
Yeah.
Bitcoiners fall.
So I like my Venn diagram of like the three Bitcoiners, and like they all disagree, and they only
Yep.
have in the middle, the overlap is just that they have Bitcoin in common, but everything else they are disagreeing. But
Yep.
no, I'm an idealist. I want to look at the big picture, and I want Bitcoin to fix everything. So I'm definitely not an engineer. But no, I think it's all about exchange in general.
I think we're connected because your reply fits into the surprise question.
Oh wow.
What's one thing Bitcoin can't fix?
Lack of open-mindedness.
Hmm. I
you
agree.
you you need to be able to receive it. It sounds a little bit, newborn Christian thing, but you need to open the book if you want to read the content. It's as easy as that. Bitcoin is easy. You can go at the rhythm that you want. You can go from many different angles, but if you just reject it because you're full of prejudices, it won't do anything for you. But in reality, it will, because eventually it will change your mind, because you will see things even though you don't want to, and then you will change
Yeah.
your mind. So Bitcoin does fix everything. That's it. That's the real answer. There is nothing that Bitcoin doesn't fix.
Pizza with or without pineapple?
Without pineapple, it's
Without.
unacceptable. And by the way, I want to take this opportunity to say that the whole Satoshi said whatever, it was a joke. It didn't happen. It's a fake. So Satoshi didn't say what is it? Pineapple and jalapenos are a good pizza topping. It never happened. It doesn't happen. And don't mix Satoshi with this abomination, please.
Is Bitcoin a cult?
No, no, it's not. Well, is money a cult? But no, I don't think it is. There is no actual leader. There is no gain for for whatever leader they could be. No, it's not. I think it's more like it's a philosophy. It's a way of looking at life and trying to understand how it works and why and where you're going. So is a philosophy a religion? Is every religion a cult? But I don't think so. I think Bitcoin is just Bitcoin. And in whatever 50 years, 100 years, we won't be there. But they won't, like everything that we're doing now with Bitcoin, it will be as if we were doing it with the Swiss franc. It would be ridiculous. People won't have a podcast saying, let's talk about the Swiss franc with a little Swiss franc hodler at the back, or it
Yeah.
will just become normal. It will just become,
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. Ossification, or does Bitcoin need to change?
That's a big question. I think I still think that it still needs to change, but I might even change my mind myself. I would like that it ossifies as soon as possible, and it ossifies in a way that we can build stuff, and maybe there are some stuff that we wish we could have built, but we can't. But I don't think it's going to happen yet. Not yet.
Who orange pilled you? You kind of answered that earlier, but
Yeah, if I want to go further, Waxy actually made me discover Bitcoin, but the goat is Andreas Antonopoulos, and anyone who refuses that doesn't know anything about nothing.
yeah, I've asked this question a few times and his name keeps coming up.
He's incredible. He was
Yeah,
incredible at the time, and he's still incredible now,
I agree.
despite everything. Right? Okay, go
Yeah.
on. Let's go.
Okay, so what are three key differences between Switzerland's direct democracy and the democratic systems we see in France or the US, for example?
I don't know about three, but one is sorry, very very basic. In Switzerland, we vote for everything. So the idea of
Absolutely.
democracy, you can have all kinds of democracies, right? And the idea is, of course, you don't want to vote literally for everything, because that's why you elect people that you think they will be able to make decisions on your behalf. And this is like, otherwise, we would be doing that nonstop. But in Switzerland, we are consulted as the people a lot, which is not the case everywhere. And
Yeah.
we are consulted in a in a way that is supposed to be as fair as possible, which means that it's not just the
Uh,
majority of that's it.
it's the 10 minutes,
How
but
many
I
questions
mean,
did we do? How many questions did we do?
um, we are at, and of course, I can't stop this bloody
No, of
timer.
course not. That will be the tune for the rest of the.
This is annoying.
So anyway, as you're doing this, I'll just finish. The idea is, of course, you can't ask everybody all the time, and you can't have the majority being bullying the rest of the minority. So the idea in
Yeah.
Switzerland is that not only you have to have the majority of people, but you also have to have the majority of each state, so that it also represents the countryside and the different languages, because in Switzerland we have 4 languages, and west and east, and the city versus the or the borders versus the inside of the country. So
Yeah.
that democracy is trying as much as possible to make every voice actually count for every kind of decision. Decision. And I think this is very very unique. It might actually be completely unique,
Yeah.
but it works also because we're a small country. It works also because the trade-off of that is that everything takes a lot of time. So it's a little bit like Bitcoin. Um, you
Yeah.
can't move fast and break things in Switzerland. It just doesn't happen. And so this is one thing. The other thing is that and this is of course why we were discussing earlier, it's the Bitcoin initiative that I'm launching, is that normal citizens, everyday people, can create that vote and participate in the bottom-up direct democracy, that you are, as a person, gathering enough people behind you to tell the government, we want the law to change, we want the constitution to change. So it's a very very big deal. Of course, it's not easy, because otherwise everybody could just go willy-nilly with crazy stuff. But the idea it's like it's completely open, and everybody can do it, anybody can do it. So it's a way for the people to actually ask the rest of the people to vote on any kind of major changes in the law. So this is very, very unique, and again, I'm not sure if there are other examples in the world, but it's crazy when you think about it. It's really like democracy as it should be. That is two. I don't know about a third one, but let's say the third one is also similar to that, which is the referendum, where if the parliament creates a law and wants to enact it, they can voluntarily ask the people to vote on it, which is what they do all the time. But if they say, no, but this is like an easy thing, like everybody agrees with that, and we agreed in the parliament, left, right, whatever, we agree with it. So let's just pass, let's just pass the law. And so people can very easily I don't know how to say, but go against this decision and gather
Yeah.
enough signatures to say, no, we represent maybe a small minority, but we represent enough people who say that law shouldn't be. Therefore, we want to force you to ask for a vote for everybody, every citizen, to enact or not. And this also is pretty crazy because, as we have seen in France, they bypass that when people are very
Yeah.
upset and they go in the street, and sometimes even the parliament doesn't want to do something. And the prime minister says, well, you know what? I think it's a good idea. I'll move forward, which, of course, enrages everybody. But in Switzerland, it's the complete opposite of that. So this is very unique. And of course, it works because it's Switzerland and the way Switzerland is built. But I'm very lucky to be part of that.
Yeah, totally. I feel so lucky to be a citizen of this country because it's mind-blowing to know that
Yeah.
people can actually get things going.
Yeah.
Um, okay, here we go. Say Bitcoin fixes this in another language.
So I'll do it in my home language, my mother tongue. Bitcoin. I don't know about fix. Bitcoin résout cela.
Oui.
It solves. It solves. It fixes. Bitcoin. Bitcoin répare. Bitcoin résout. Bitcoin fixes. It sounds so good in English.
Yeah, and frequently, because I've looked for this multiple times, and I see uh, Bitcoin résout ce problème,
Yeah,
Bitcoin résout cela. It's
but
always
it's
resolves.
yeah. It's not as catchy because fix is resolving, but at the same time, you're making it that it was broken and now it's not broken anymore,
Yeah,
which is kind of fantastic.
yeah,
Sometimes you need to use the original language, like when you watch
yeah.
a series on Netflix.
Okay, so the Swiss are known to be polyglots. So polyglot is someone who speaks multiple languages. How many languages do you speak or understand?
I speak two properly, which is French and English. I understand Japanese because I lived there for a bit, and I studied German, but it's terrible. I studied Chinese, but it's terrible. And
Yeah,
I can understand Italian because you move your hands and you answer in French, and everybody can communicate, so that's fine. But no, I'm with that's the thing with French and English. You get everywhere. So
yeah, very true. Will institutional adoption hurt or help Bitcoin as a medium of exchange?
long term, it's gonna help because the more people are, I don't want to say protecting, but the more people are greedy enough that it's in their interest that Bitcoin is strong. Not necessarily 100% that number go up, but let's say that everybody wants number go up and everybody wants to own it and everybody's greedy, right? It's about greed.
Yeah,
The more stable it's gonna be long term, because like gold, people could be using it, even a fraction of it, but they know that somewhere on the other side of the world, some other people is protecting it because they have aligned interests. They're not
yeah,
protecting it for that person, but they're protecting it for themselves. But
yeah,
everybody benefits from it. So yeah, I'm very bullish in the broad sense, not just for the price go up. But I'm very bullish on the ETF, and now there's an ETF in Hong Kong and whatever, because I do believe that the more big players there will be, the more the small pupusa seller on the side of the street in El Salvador will benefit from it.
Yeah,
It's a global thing.
Okay, next question. Give 3 reasons why a person should run their own node.
First, it's not your keys, not your coin. Well, not your node, not your rules. People can play a different game, and you don't know about it because you're not verifying that the rules that they're playing is the same rules that you want to play. The second one would be that it's fun. You're actually part of a very early movement that you can be an actual part of. You can be a participant, and you can learn, and you can have it's very exciting that you're thinking, I'm part of that network. It's like the equivalent of at the very early email I don't know, creation, apparition, or when people were starting to use email, and you would have your email service, or you would have your homepage, like your website that says, hello, welcome to my homepage, and you put photos of your cat, but you would have your own server. So it's like the early internet. It's like the early I don't know, the early car revolution. Like you build your own car, or you fix your own car. It's a fun. First it's a fun project that you start asking a lot of questions that you wouldn't otherwise, because you wouldn't be exposed to them, and also you're actually helping the network at the same time, and you're helping yourself. So I think that's 3 reasons.
Yep, totally. A non or could be Bitcoin related question. Who is your favorite band or singer?
So that people who know me, that's very easy. It's Shina Ringo. She's a Japanese singer. I encourage everybody to become a big fan because she's incredible. It's pop rock, but it's not your usual Japanese pop rock.
I'm so unfamiliar with Japanese pop rock. When I hear Japanese pop rock, I think of like a Tarantino movie, which I'm guessing is a bit of a stereotype and not actually reflective of the music itself.
Yeah, like it's like everywhere. There is like some really bad stuff, and there is some goodish stuff, and there is Shina Ringo all floating above on a little
Shina
cloud.
Ringo.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
You can put the link in the show notes.
Okay, I will. Thank you. You've been into the Bitcoin space for about a decade now, over a decade. Was there ever a time when you wholeheartedly believed Bitcoin would die?
The first 2 years. It's a spectrum, right? Like you start with almost 100%. I think everybody at the beginning, they say they're gonna shut it down. It's of course it's too crazy. Like the whole thing is crazy. Satoshi himself, the whole thing, like everything is crazy. And it started with the Silk Road and WikiLeaks. And you're thinking, yeah, of course they're gonna shut it down. Like there is no way. And then of course as it goes, and Hal Finney was, I think it was Hal, maybe it was Satoshi, but I think it was Hal. In one of the message forums, he was saying like every day that Bitcoin is not dead, it's like a proof that it's gonna be there, and it's useful, and it's resilient, and like every day is a small victory, right? And we see today, like like this week with the arrest of the samurai people, and the lawsuit of the what is it called, Tornado Cash. It's not over. It is a disturbing thing that is disrupting the status quo, and making a lot of people nervous. So they could, I don't know how, I'm not in charge, which is good, but I'm not in charge of destroying it. But I guess if someone, or if some country was, or if a coalition of countries really wanted to destroy it, maybe they could. So I'm never 100% one way or 100% the other way. I'm not 100% confident that it will never be destroyed. And I think if you look at it enough, you cannot be 100%. But at the same time, I started with 100% that they will close it and that will be it. And now I'm like 99.999% that it's just going to survive and there is no other alternative. So,
Tina.
exactly. It was the first 2 years. I was really interested. I was really following it, but I was very pessimistic about it. And now
Yeah.
I'm following it even more, and I'm even more optimistic. So, but
Yep.
in the middle, there was no time when, and I think the more you know about it, the more optimistic you become.
Yeah. And yeah, that I agree. Okay, what advice would you give someone learning about Bitcoin for the first time?
I would say just be curious. There is no stupid question. And maybe sometimes there is a question that you think is unrelated, ask it anyway. Because you will not be able to discover everything all at once.
Yeah.
It's the whole rabbit hole, right? You have to be falling, and not everybody falls at the same speed. Not everybody starts from the same place. Some people actually have more difficulty falling. Let's say, I don't know, someone who works for a central bank will have so much knowledge of certain things that it will be more difficult to accept knowledge of other things. Or maybe, like it will just be impossible, but there is another way to enter the rabbit hole for them. So just ask questions. But, if you're not open-minded about it, it's fine, because it will just continue without you. And eventually, sooner or later, you'll be using it like you use, I don't know. A lot of people at the beginning of the smartphones, they say, I don't want a smartphone. At the beginning of
Yeah.
the mobile phone, they were saying, I don't want a mobile phone. And now they realize that it's like you have a computer in your pocket. It's not a mobile phone. It's not, nobody's pinging you. You just have a computer, a portable computer. And
Yeah.
that's the way it goes. So it's going to be the same. There will be like suddenly, internet money, and people will even forget about the name. It will just be internet money, and it will be fine.
Yep. Almost the last question. We've got 3 more to go. How many countries have you visited?
That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't check. I would say about 20-ish, maybe. I like to travel. I try to travel as much as possible. Now, of course, I'm older, so everything becomes more complicated. And since
Oh.
since 911, planes are, well. I can't spend 5 hours in a queue. It's horrible. But there was a time when you could just hop on a plane and be on the other
Yeah.
side of the world. And 20 years old youngsters today can't even imagine such a world, but you could arrive at your gate, 1 minute before the plane would take off, and it would be fantastic. But yeah, no, in general, I like to travel, and I think traveling is very, very important, because it gives you more perspective. I think
Yep.
traveling and languages give you a way. As I was saying, the guy who works at the central bank, it's difficult for that person, the guy or girl, it's difficult for that person to start being interested in Bitcoin, because it goes against what they think, because they are in a certain mindset. You are in the mindset of your education, your surrounding, your community, your parents, and your news and your entertainment and everything. The fact that you travel, but you have again to be open-minded. You need
Yeah.
to embrace if you're traveling just to take whatever you have with you and get it there, it doesn't work. You have to go there, you have to get lost a little bit, you have to walk around, you have to learn a little bit the language, you need to meet with the locals and go a little bit out of the touristy places. And then suddenly you start thinking that there is like billions of people around the world that are completely different from you, like completely different. They're the way they laugh, the way they cry, the way they talk, the way they sit, everything is different. and suddenly you're thinking, I'm a different person. Like I am the one who's different. So yeah, I love traveling. That wasn't the question, but I answered like a politician, so it's fine.
I'm doing my best to retain myself and not add commentary and rebound off what you're saying. I will say one little thing though.
Yes, please.
Um, the day I realized that I have an accent, I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
I'm the one with the accent.
exactly. Everybody is a foreigner. Everybody speaks a different language.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, second to last question. What's the difference between an initiative and a petition?
So earlier I was talking about initiative and referendum. A petition is it's a letter. So legally it exists in Swiss regulations. If you write a petition, whoever you're writing it to has to acknowledge it and pay attention, but that's it. So it's a way to, for example, before you start an initiative, you can start by a petition so that you engage and you can say, look, there is this problem. Before we start becoming quote unquote, confrontational, we would like to have a conversation. And very often it actually works, and people start sitting down and discussing. So in the case of the initiative to put Bitcoin in the Swiss constitution, we actually went to the General Assembly of the Swiss National Bank to explain to them why and how and why we think it's a good idea and everything. So there was no need for a petition, really. But the idea of the petition is it's an open letter. You like
Yep.
anybody can do it. The only difference with a lot of places is that in Switzerland it's actually regulated that it needs to be acknowledged.
And very last question. Da 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 da. How could Switzerland benefit from adding Bitcoin to the constitution?
This is like it sums up everything.
The timing is impeccable.
Yeah, it's perfect because it's, as we were saying, what about, is are institutions good or bad for Bitcoin, and what about earning and whatnot. I think Switzerland would benefit from it, but more importantly, the whole world will benefit from Switzerland
Yeah.
benefiting from it. Today, if you're talking with no coiners, like people who are criticizing, nicely or not, they will say El Salvador, it's not even a country. They will say, yeah, come on. They didn't even have their own currency. They had the dollar. They're too small. They're too poor. Who gives a shit? I shouldn't swear, but you can beep me. But
It's
this,
okay.
it was to express how much they're dismissive, right? That I was quoting. That wasn't my word. I was quoting those people, right? Just to be clear. So those people, they would benefit, and everybody would benefit if there was another country that was actually moving forward into embracing Bitcoin. But Switzerland will not get Bitcoin as legal tender. We're not there because we have a very strong economy, and we are, like the North or the West or whatever you want to call it. We're not like an emerging economy. We do have a Swiss franc that is not part of the Eurozone, for the listeners who don't know. So it's a very specific currency that is only in Switzerland. So there is no reason why Switzerland would embrace Bitcoin as legal tender. However, what we're trying to propose is that Switzerland invests in Bitcoin. Why? Because one, and that would be the answer, the short answer to, if we were still in the 10 minutes, the short answer to your question is it would benefit because it's one of the best, if not the best performing asset in the decade, the last 10 or last 15 years. Why would BlackRock invest in Bitcoin? Why would BlackRock's customers invest in Bitcoin? Why was BlackRock fighting the SEC in order to be allowed to have a Bitcoin ETF? Why did Grayscale sue the SEC in order to have a Bitcoin ETF? Because it's a good investment. Like, that's it. That's the easiest. Swiss National Bank has reserves. They invest those reserves in all kinds of things, including, and most people don't know, like most people think it's all, backed by gold, but that's not the case. They invest in treasury bonds from the US. They invest in euro bonds. They invest in US denominated stock, like, Apple, Tesla, whatever. So
Facebook.
Facebook, why not invest in, a super good asset that keeps increasing in value? It just makes sense. So that would be the very first thing. Like, if it's like a elevator pitch, you have only 10 seconds and you want to convince the SNB or, the government of Switzerland, invest, like, you have reserves, you want your reserves to increase in value, invest in something that increases in value over 4 to 5 years every single cycle. That's it. And it's not something that we're saying like, what if? We're not like 15 years ago. We're not optimistic. We actually look at the actual numbers for the last 15 years. It is what it is. So this would be it. But as I was saying earlier, if Switzerland was to invest in Bitcoin, that means it becomes a real precedent, and it's not just a Central American country that is easy to dismiss. It's the country that everybody associates with private banking and banking in general. It is the
And
country
secrecy.
and secrecy, and but not even secrecy, but like, the banking is so good that you want to keep it secret, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
The banking is so good that people come from all over the world to have the best banking, not just for secrecy, because now there is no secrecy for foreign bank clients, but people would still come to Switzerland because the banking is that good that they're happy to pay taxes, but they would rather have the best service. It's also the place where, as we said, is democracy is like at the peak. It could still be improved, maybe like this or like that, but again, it's not a dictatorship where there is a I'm talking about Bukele nicknaming himself the cool
A
dictator,
friendly dictator. Yeah.
or the coolest dictator or whatever. Switzerland, there is no dictatorship. Like, if that happens, it's a democratic decision. It's for the people, right? It's not the money of the president. Nobody knows who the president is, and nobody cares. This is how crazy democracy is in Switzerland. So if that would happen, then every country will pay attention. And if every country pays attention, that means every country's citizens can benefit from it. So this is why we're doing the initiative, but this is also what I strongly believe. Switzerland should really open the way, because it just makes sense. There is no other way.
Okay, so I can't resist. Follow-up question.
Please.
Let's say Bitcoin is added to the constitution in Switzerland. Could Switzerland get any type of pushback, or I don't want to use the word punishment, but could there be a reaction from the European Union?
So this is all like speculations, right? At the
Yeah.
moment, the Swiss National Banks has a lot of reserves, and we're not going to go into details here because it's a bit boring, but it has a lot of money, it has a lot of reserves. It's a very big investor. Some of this investment is in euro, and some of this investment is in European bonds. In terms of soft power and pushbacks, it's easier for Europe to, I don't know, nudge Switzerland in the right direction when they're not behaving the way the European Union would like Switzerland to behave, because there is so much euro and euro connected assets in the Swiss reserves. So one of the things with Bitcoin is that it would be interesting to have something similar to gold, as in it's not the US dollar, it's not the
Yep.
euro, it's a
Yep.
neutral investment. And in this case, maybe the pushback will be a little bit different, because then Europe would say, oh, we're losing, we're gradually, slowly losing one of our, big investor. Maybe we should be the one playing nice with them. So that's one thing. The other thing is, if we look at El Salvador getting it as a legal tender, and they are, they have the US breathing down their neck nonstop. Historically, I'm not making it up. Like, historically, there was a coup, there was a civil war. It was financed by the Soviets on one side and the US on the other. It's a big thing. Now China is very involved in the development of South America and Central America. They just built or financed the big library.
Yeah, I saw that when I was there.
Which is kind of a beautiful building, and it's very landmarkish. Of course, the US are not going to be super happy about that. And yet, and by the way, Bukele goes to the United Nations and make big speeches saying, how come my neighbor is telling me what I should do in my own house, right? If you haven't listened to that speech, is beautiful. So if you think about that, and then you think about how big the US is compared to El Salvador and how powerful it is, and then you think about Europe, the European Union, compared to Switzerland. Of course, it's very big as well, and it's all around us. But the European Union is not the US, and Switzerland is not El Salvador. So I think they could come and complain about lots of things, but I don't think, when even the US hasn't done anything, I don't think Europe would do anything. They would just, ask nicely and strongly with, very well crafted phrasing. But if Switzerland said, this is not our money, like, our money is still our money, we're still not joining the Eurozone anyway, and we're still doing our own things. But at the same time, Europe also benefits from having good relationship with Switzerland. So I don't think there would be pushbacks, but it would be words, not actual actions. I think.
Nice. You think?
I
Well,
think.
on that, we're going to end Ask a Bitcoiner 21 questions. Thank you so much. And
Well,
I'm
thank you.
thinking of ways to do something else, because I enjoy listening to your perspective on things. But before I say goodbye and we say goodbye, can you remind everyone how to find you on social media and how to find the initiative?
So my social media is ZLOK on Twitter, so ZLOK, and the initiative is Initiative BTC on Twitter as well, all in one word.
And I will include those details in the show notes. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Yves. Thank you. All right. Bye.
Bye.